Hello, Jess. Are you there, Jess? Hi.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. How is everybody? They liked the
Happy
start.
Friday. Hope everyone's doing well.
Hey,
Jess, how are
Brandon and
you?
Bryce and Daniel and Ivana.
We have some freaking rock stars in here today, live.
Look at
Like,
that.
this is awesome.
Look at Alicia. Are we using?
Oh, see, based on my day so far today, the fact that someone said that, Alicia, she clearly someone told her about my
There a young filter in here? I gotta find it. That's very
yes,
nice.
Lynn, Sharon. Did you see what's her name? What's her name? What's that chick's name? Marissa Franco's even in here?
I know.
Like, that's awesome. Daryl's here. Awesome, Daryl. How are you? Good to see everyone.
Yeah, nice to see everybody. I missed you all last week. How was it?
Last week was, well, we should ask you how it was. Like, do you need to show us any like blisters on your feet or legs or whatever?
No, actually, I was shocked that I didn't have a single blister. My trail shoes are perfect. I do have
Finisher
a
medal?
blister medal. Yes. Oh my gosh, I should go get it. Uh, Ragnar has switched to like wooden medals, not metal medals. It's really cool. It's like an wood etched metal. I had a great time running my 13th Ragnar. For those of you who don't know, Ragnar is a relay race. The road race is 200 miles, point A to point B. I did the trail version in Zion National Park, which is running in and out of a campsite, Ragnar Village, like a base camp. We did 125 miles. We came in first. First, we won. Jason, we won our division, which is
Believe me, I have heard.
you've heard.
Yes.
So it's a huge race. There were 414 teams and only 38 all-female teams. That's the category we won. Only 38 all-female teams, which means the rest were co-ed, all male, or military. But I was super proud of our team. It was so fun, and so hard.
Yeah, and the pictures that you posted on Instagram were amazing as well. So that's great. Yeah, Daryl said what became clear last week at Unleash is no one knows what AI is all about.
Ooh,
See,
interesting.
Daryl just like jumped. He didn't really care about you,
I love
basically.
it.
He
I love
just jumped right into everyone's talking about your race, congratulating you, et cetera, et cetera. He just jumped right into let's just get to it. AI. Shut up, Jess. We're gonna get into the AI stuff.
the best part about my race was that I didn't have to talk about AI once. As much as I love it, it was nice to be completely off the grid, no signal. Sorry, I couldn't join the meetup. Literally no signal. And I'm the kind of person that loves that. I love going off the grid. And then sitting back down. I talked to Alicia earlier this week, my our wonderful colleague, and she asked me about the race, and I said, in all seriousness now, I said, here's the incredible thing about racing. For a moment in time, you feel extraordinary. You literally feel like an extraordinary human being. And then it's over, and you hang up your medal, and you sit down at your desk, and your kids ask for mac and cheese and cut up fruit, and you log into a laptop, and you're ordinary again. Not that that's a bad thing. Not that that's a bad thing. It's kind of like birthing a child. Like for a moment in time, you feel like an extraordinary human being. And I think that's what I keep going back for. That's why I have like 35 race medals, because I love that feeling.
Well, that's awesome. Like, congratulations.
Thank you.
Truly, truly, truly.
Like Alicia's
So,
like, still no. No, thank you.
well, yeah, she wears the wrong shoes. That's her issue. So May 16th, everyone, just so everyone knows, that song that I played was actually, do you know why I played it, Jess?
No, tell me.
You don't even know the song. The name of the song is May 16th.
You find the best songs based
Yeah, who
on,
knew? Like, who knew there was actually a song called May 16th, right?
wow, I love it. Already halfway through May.
Yeah. And you know what the name of the band is that plays the song?
Well, I think Brandon said it earlier in the chat. Was it Jagmaster? Where was that?
Oh, I missed that. I missed that part.
Somebody named it. Was he right?
I don't know what he said.
Now lagwagon. I totally made up that word. Lagwagon is what Brandon.
Yes, leg wagon,
What did I just
exactly.
say? I just made stuff up.
I don't know what you said. I was like, when you said, I was like, and that's not the song. That's not the
Not
name
it.
of it. But anyway, great to have everyone here. Really excited for the show. We're going to do quick green, yellow, red in a second. And then we're going to do one big thing. And then we have some amazing guests with us today, which I'm really excited about as well. But before we start, a
Yes.
word from our sponsor, who isn't our sponsor, but we're actually going to say something real quick about a webinar that Jess and I are doing next week. And we don't usually promote things on this meetup. And we're not really promoting anything on this meetup, but we're promoting it because I have a question for the community. It's
Oh my
just it's
gosh.
just one question. Take a look at this photo for those of you that are on live. For those of you on the podcast, it's not going to work. Tell me one thing about this photo that stands out to you. Just one thing about this photo, or excuse me, about this webinar advertisement that stands out to you. I just love to see what you guys say. Hair. Interesting.
Uh,
So that clearly they're looking
it's-
at, clearly they must be, she's looking at you. Glowing skin on all three of you. Uneven photo sizes.
huh?
Jess, they're probably not going to even go where I want to go.
Oh my
Or
God,
what
you got
where I'm struggling. Day beard. Oh, look at that. Day beard.
oh,
I don't think they're talking
me.
about you, Jess. I don't
You're
think they're
right,
talking
on
about
me.
you. Yeah. But so I think that Jess and Frank look like total newscasters.
Yes,
Don't you?
Marissa, look at Zoolander
Yes.
look.
And look at me. Yeah, look at me. Like literally look at me. Like I just look like a yeah, mugshot. Exactly, Brad. That is exactly what I'm talking about. Like like I saw this yesterday for the first time and I was like, "Oh my god, like I need to go in for like a facelift or a neck lift or teeth whitening or like compared to these two, I don't even deserve strange tint. Yeah, I don't even deserve to be on this. Um,
Oh my
this
gosh.
pic,
You
this.
guys, he has not stopped since yesterday. He's, he's so upset with this promo
Yeah,
image.
and our CEO sent it to me and said, "You need to change your picture." I was like, see, even our CEO of Mercer, a big global company, tells me that they don't like my picture on this thing. So it was just joking.
See,
Well,
Lynn,
not really.
everybody has told you the same thing. And Lynn just, it's because it's sized differently and you're not wearing a suit and tie like Frank. You have photos that look, the whole,
I could not I could not look as good as the two of you, even if I wanted to. That's all. Yeah, another HR system fail. I can't even look anything like he that his he forget. I'm not gonna even go there. Anyway, that's enough time on that. But I hope you can join that webinar now that I did that. Just 'cause I mean, we share in this community what's bothering us. That's what's bothering me today. Someone asked me why I was wearing this shirt today. I was like, because literally, I'm not going to wear t-shirts anymore because I look like shit. So I'm just going to dress up every single day. So yes, very few people can look like Jess. I don't want to look
Lord.
like Jess, et cetera, et cetera. And what we're going to talk about, I'm not going to talk about it in the webinar. No, what we're going to talk about is this new world of communication and how communication is so important as we talk about AI deployments, as we talk about system deployments. What are the ways to communicate change to organizations? That's what we're talking about in the webinar. But I
Yes.
just have to say, the picture, it was not good. So all that being said, I hope you can join the webinar. Maybe someone can put the
Good.
link in there again. So, how's everyone? Green, yellow, red. Green, great. Yellow, so-so. Red, not so good. I'm yellow because of that picture. I went first. There you've got my answer. Green, 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 green. Hopefully, those of you that know me well enough know I'm kind of playing, but and maybe kind of not. Green because of Jason's comedy or lack thereof. Um, I Oh my God. I'm not going to even show it. Someone just texted me a photoshopped picture of that I better just
Tell
move
me what
on.
is it?
No, I'm not showing it. Thank you for having fun. No, it's not even appropriate to show what was just sent to me. It might get banned.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Clearly, people are having fun in here.
Mhm.
Lots of greens, yellow. Uh, did you see any reds, Jeff?
I haven't seen any reds yet. That's
Our amazing producer, JC Grider, adopted a cat
Mhm.
that I saw. We saw in the green room before, which made me so happy. Like it made me forget about how bad that picture of me was when I saw that cat.
JC, you can show us lavender again if you want. I bet everybody would love to see lavender.
That look at that. That is the most gore. I'm not a cat person. Like I'm already. I don't know if anyone else in Minneapolis has so many allergies
Mm.
going on in the world, but I have so many allergies right now. That cat is making my eyes water, but it's a cute cat.
I have
It
to
is.
hide behind her or else her face gets blurry. Sorry.
Oh, look at Katie. She's green now just by
Oh,
looking at the cat. See?
Thank
Congratulations, JC.
yes.
you.
Oh, so cute.
Look, a cat that makes me itch. Like my back is itching.
I know. Uh,
Um, there was a comment that I saw in the chat that I wanted to get to. It was you wrote a spectacular article for a couple weeks ago. How can I share it on LinkedIn? It was an amazing survey workplace analysis. Huh.
hmm.
Maybe she's talking about someone else because I don't really write anything fantastic. A and B, I don't really remember writing anything about that. But
Oh,
it was you.
that was you.
We'll have to figure out which
Okay,
one.
we'll find it,
Gesture.
Ellie.
We'll figure out which one it was and share. I try to share all my posts that I do on LinkedIn.
Hmm.
So maybe you should look on my LinkedIn and it's probably there. But
Yeah.
anyway, um, great to see everyone. Glad to see most people are green. Jess, one big thing besides the race. One
Uh,
big thing.
Yes, one big thing. I was in Denver for a few days this week attending Workhuman, not my first Workhuman, not my last. Part of the treat of Workhuman is that it's not a tech show. You get to have broader conversations that aren't just about technology-driven experiences and work. And yes, Lori Trevor Noah was the closing keynote. He barely made it. He busted through a bunch of weather to land at an alternate airport. It was very delayed keynote. He is fantastic. Has a lot of fans. A lot of you already know him and love him. He's funny, he's smart, he's empathetic, and he uses humor as a lens for explaining the craziness of the world, which is a real talent. So he was absolutely fantastic. But even better than that, we had a client dinner while we were there. I got to spend time with colleagues. We don't always get to do that unless we travel and do stuff like this. I got to meet customers. I got to meet Jessica in the community and Nicole in the community in person. So our community members turned out as well. So it was great. It was a great week. Absolutely.
Oh, look at that. That was the highlight of the week, Jess. She's not talking about meeting you. She was talking about the conference. Bob, I'm just kidding. Bob, one big thing. Daughter is new president of the National Honor Society.
Wow.
Andrew's son is graduating from college tomorrow. Like these are huge. Jessica,
Leah
oh, excuse
closing
me.
her
Leah got the keys to her house. Oh my God. Did you see Leah's picture?
house and the champagne. Oh my God, I'm so happy for you, Leah.
It was amazing. That her photo was amazing. Was there any others that I missed reading out? Because I love sharing these when people listen to it. They always say that.
Oh,
But
Summer, I saw.
people that listen to the podcast always say they like hearing. Oldest graduated from college last weekend. Youngest graduates next week. That is awesome. My twins turned 9 this week.
Amazing.
That's
Last
just
year in the single digits. That's big.
yeah, but that just made my like I twinged when I heard that. That was really cool. Like I had a reaction to that. That made me happy seeing the
Mhm.
twins turn 9.
Very cool.
I connected up with a person I went to university from the early 190s. Wow, John, you're not that old. And you're not not the early 1900s, I don't think either. That was the first thing I read. Oh, 1970s. John, you're not in the 1900s. My son's high school baseball team made it to the state baseball championship, first time in school
Wow.
history. Oh, very cool. Um, Lots of cool stuff. Lots of big. Think about your one big things. We do this part of the show just because I don't think enough people actually spend time thinking about this. That they just get through the week, they just grind and grind and grind and grind, and all of a sudden get to the end of the week and
Mhm.
um, wonder what's going on. I have 3 OBTs,
Oh my gosh. Okay.
but they're gonna be fairly quick. The first OBT is I was supposed to travel this week to Atlanta. My flight got canceled 3 times because of our national air traffic control system,
Oh,
which is interesting and probably something we should all stay tuned for those of us that travel. I was going to Atlanta, which Atlanta had a ground stoppage because they didn't have enough air traffic controllers and their system shut down.
wow.
Which made me think about systems in my head. And I was actually thinking about floppy disks. Do you remember floppy disks where you
You.
had to like cut the tab? You actually had to cut like a tab out of the side to make it protected so no one could see your um, data. Do you remember that part, Jess?
Don't remember that part.
You remember Clippy?
Yes, Clippy, the little paper clip, the little, yes.
Yes, I do actually have a post coming up tomorrow about Clippy.
Really?
Clippy is going to be reborn tomorrow.
Oh my gosh, I can't wait.
Clippy and AI in the AI world.
Mm.
My second one big thing, for those of you that know that I have a side passion other than doing this, happens to be the NBA. And the Minnesota Timberwolves made the Western Conference Finals.
Okay. This might be like the only surviving hope of Minnesota.
Exactly. For the
Yeah.
second year in a row. So I had such an amazing time. Once again, for some people I tell this story to, there's nothing that can take my mind off most things except the NBA. So big season ticket holder, and I went on Wednesday night and like was completely focused on the game the whole time and loved every minute of it. So stopped thinking about everything other than the game.
Yeah.
So now we'll see what's next. We still don't even know who they're playing next or when they play, but the Wolves. Thank you, Tammy, for saying that. And then and they're not moving to Seattle even though that's been a rumor. And then the third one big thing is that I had an opportunity last night to go to an event that I just want to promote really quickly. It's called ACES, and I'll put the link in the chat. Some people may be familiar with it, some may not, but it's basically an organization that works with kids to actually help them both love sports as well as love STEM.
Mm.
And they work with a lot of the schools in the Minneapolis area, kids that don't have the same opportunities, let's just say, as others. And what an amazing event. Every year I go, I cry
Mm.
because I'm so proud of what that organization does. I have a great friend who is the chair and on the board. Um, and there were 2 speakers last night. One was from Ohio State University, who just graduated from Ohio State University and wrote a book for kids called The 1%.
Mm.
But actually saw himself as the 1%. I'm going to check on the name of that book, so I want to make sure it's right. But he gave a great speech last night. And another one of the ACES students graduates from McAllister College in Minneapolis this weekend. So it's just amazing to see how the combination of public education combined with a little help, little boosts here and there, like just the work you do with Diverse Daisies, the work that ACES does can make a difference in giving people that aren't lucky enough to have a path carved out for them automatically, get some boosts here and there and can see what can happen. So those are my one big things.
Those are good.
Yeah, it's been a busy week, but fun week. So Jess, you want to talk about our guest today?
Yeah. Sometimes I forget like really obvious people.
You forget, well, sometimes you forget why we're here. You just think we're having like a since we canceled our one-on-one this week, that we're just gonna do our one-on-one live in front of everyone.
Yeah, totally. No, sometimes, I mean, I've known Philip for a long time, and sometimes you forget like the people you get to talk to all the time and the companies that you're already a fan of. And so we finally
Do you think
connect.
anyone would pay to do? Do you think anyone would pay? Not that I want any money, but do you think, Chili? See, Chili, this is just what I was
Every
about
one
to
of
say.
our one-on-ones.
Do you think we should just do every one of our one-on-ones this way? Like,
I've
do you
said
think
that
anyone?
before.
Do you think anyone would show? Then Philip's like, "Oh, dude, just get on with it." But do you think anyone would show up just to listen to our one-on-ones, Jess?
Yes. Yes, I have told people it's basically Jason and I having a chat about the week in front of an
Yeah, the
audience.
problem is it would be explicit ratings on
That's
the
true.
podcast channels. You know,
Damn, yes, we would.
Philip, how are you?
Good, good. Thank you for having me and having us. So it's really a pleasure to be with two legends here, right? I mean, you guys have such a great community, and it's like I'm just thinking about like when I started 25 years ago with SAP, and we were like, you know, from an analyst community, it was like Gartner and Forrester, and it was like three companies. And now, like you talked about, first up, Jess was at WorkHuman. Here we are. There's so many players, so many more voices from customers, from vendors, from analysts. I just love it. I think it's such a great time to be living
Yeah.
in compared to like, the time 20 years ago or 15 years ago, which was like very monopolistic, I guess, very one or zero kind of
Yeah.
time.
Philip, I love that you said that. There's this
Yeah.
crazy dude that I had to brief all the time. His name was Jim Hollandcheck.
Yeah.
Some people remember the name, some people don't, but he was this old curmudgeon guy at Gartner. That I had to come in. I had to get ready for briefings while I was with PeopleSoft. It literally took me 3 months to get ready. He'd come in, I'd be sweating out of every orifice of my body. He would watch me for a week, or not a week, but a day or two, and then I'd go
Yeah,
back
dude.
and wait 3 months to see what he'd write.
Right.
And I'd be like, oh man. Now I get the brilliant honor of working with this gentleman every day of my life. I love him with all my heart.
Hired him to keep him safe.
He joined us. I didn't hire
Yes,
him.
yes.
He joined us. And so now I get to work with him every day. But you're right. It was a very monopolistic approach back then with Gartner. And Jim ruled the roost. There was really no one else. And that's the only one we actually cared about. And now we have an amazing community of people and places you can get information. And to be honest with you, it's all good information. It's got diversity and perspectives, but it's all good information. It's not like we've got fake news, quote unquote. So you're exactly right. Thank you for calling that out, because sometimes I wonder why I'm so consumed with information, but it's because we have such a great community of people that are providing that.
For sure, for sure. And yeah, would love to, provide as much as input I can and from my experience, and give some color to this session. Just
So
for any
give us your background. Like first of all, you have really cool
Sure.
background with all those cool pictures. So when I say give us
Thank
your
you.
background, you've got a really cool background, quote unquote.
Yeah,
But
my
would love to hear
inspiration
about
wall.
your
Sure,
background.
sure. So I love the whole kind of mentioning the initiative about the kids and how they need a little extra push and sometimes kind of find their path forward, right? And that kind of brought me back to how I landed from Europe. So first of all, shout out to everybody joining in from Europe, because it's like 7:28 in the evening, where this time you're probably with having dinner with your kids.
Where are you joining from?
Frankfurt, Germany.
Oh, brilliant. Okay.
And I have my small son here. He's with me because my wife is still at work. My older one is with a friend. So, if you see him in the background, you'll notice that.
Yes.
So basically what I wanted to get back to is like how my life shaped a lot because of those initiatives. So I grew up in a place called Yugoslavia. This country doesn't exist anymore for the last, I think, 20 years. This was, this country basically dismantled after the whole Eastern European kind of, went into, transformation, not AI transformation, but, going from a socialist to capitalistic society from kind of post-Soviet bloc, right? And there was a gentleman who probably, if you're in the whole financing world and politics, you might have heard his name is George Soros. Very, debatable, good and bad. But anyways, he had like a open society foundations, which were like these, centers of providing financial aid, right, to kids who can, take an advantage and take a semester in the UK or in the US. And I was one of them. I was 15 years old, and I remember going from a war torn, or like, at that point of time, I think the war was in Yugoslavia, and then there was in like Bosnia, in Croatia, in Bosnia, and then Kosovo later hit. So it was like the whole country was just like falling apart as we speak. And I was like, this was a ticket for me to see the dream. Like US was the kind of I don't know if it still is, with all the things happening in politics, we'll take that aside. But back then it was, for a teenager, it was like, wow, I get to see something completely different. And I landed in Kentucky, like in a place 2,000 people, growing from like a capital, which was very city centric, to something like completely different, where you go hunting and fishing, and high school is like the prime center of everything, and church on Sunday, right? It was just like, wow, culture shock, but I loved it. But back to my story, it was like that's that kind of an extra push of little financing that could have really helped somebody see a whole different perspective of life than just beyond the the perspective that they were born with, or their parents, or their the community. So it really takes a little. And if there's anything that taught me this, is to kind of how to give back. And I don't know, like in America, in the US, you have that. Europe is a little bit, I feel like, still does not understand the whole concept of alumni and giving back. I feel like it's a little bit more different. So I'm just, pointing a bit of the differences. But I mean, my purpose is now, as I've, reached to a certain level, is really to give back. And what I do at Semos Cloud is my biggest satisfaction is, looking at the people around me, that the talent we grow, and kind of giving them the exposure that I've had, not just being in the US, but then working for Oracle, SAP, to kind of get into that ecosystem, which, in the past was very closed. Like, you had to, grow in specific schools, you had to have specific education. So we're kind of opening up, not just the analyst community, but also the access points to our careers. And so it's great. I think anything that we can help promote these kind of little extra things that help in the earlier career life of teenagers, kids, and later as they enter the workforce, I think will make a big difference.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that I think that the what you said about Europe, I don't, of course, not being from Europe, I don't know that piece of it. And I'm not saying that that's true for all of the US also. I think there's a lot more we can do in the US around this. In fact, one of the debates I had last night with a friend at this event was the private and public consortium that's needed more in the world, which kind of goes back to one of these posts that Ellie was talking about in the chat that I write about how, we can't just count on the government, quote unquote, to get us to where we need to be. And we can't just count on companies to get us to where we need to be. It takes a lot more than that. And I think that going forward, it's going to be, I think as a human race, let me just say that as a human race, we need to do a lot more of what you're talking about. You're amazing on LinkedIn.
No, that don't even come close to you and Jess. I mean, you guys are the rock stars. Come on.
No, but you're constantly writing, you're constantly posting. You can tell. And by the way, Leo, one of the community members, who I love, for exactly what he wrote, he said, "Hello, Philip. This is the first time I met you. You have a wonderful patience in your voice and wisdom." Which Leo is so Leo, that just warmed me when I felt it when you said it. But what got you into this space, like the HR technology space?
Yeah, so um, I was interning for Oracle in Washington, D.C. I was doing business development for them. This was like my last year in school. I knew I wanted to go into tech, so I was studying computer science, math, and international business. I was, very, let's say, eager to jumpstart my career. And then I got this interview on the West Coast in Palo Alto for a company called SAP that I've never heard about. And I'm like, all right, I'll give it a shot. And through the discovery back then, I think it was Yahoo was the search engine. Like, what is SAP, right?
I love that.
I, I don't know if Yahoo gave the answer or not. Like, there was no AI, there was no ChatGPT.
I'd love to see what that description was back then.
Exactly. Actually, SAP struggled a lot. That's why they did all these advertisements in the airports, if you guys remember. Like, there was like, just to know that this is not some behind the scenes
Oh yeah,
software.
Adidas runs SAP and
Adidas runs
Pepsi
it,
runs
Santa Claus
SAP.
runs SAP. It was like, so then I discovered it's a European company. I'm like, cool, they're in Palo Alto, Silicon Valley. This is like 99, 2000. So I take the interview. The manager there that was hiring, he was looking for somebody who can work as a junior software developer in payroll. And now, if you talk to a lot of SAP folks, success factors, or even probably Workday and Oracle, like payroll seems to be making a big, comeback. And that's where I started. So like payroll was and long story, interview and everything. I get the job. I do this kind of a 3 months training where they say, well, everything you learn in college, just throw it away. There's this new programming language, or their programming language called ABAP, and this is what it means. And they fly you around. Like, these are really great days of training and enablement. I mean, I can imagine what's the training enablement for young people now as they start, particularly with all the fear we have with AI that's going to be taking over these junior jobs. Anyways, glory days, like really, like, as I mentioned earlier, like there was like limited access to analysts and vendors and this variety, but on the kind of the career progression for young professionals, I think this was like fabulous. Like you really could understand what is HR, the basics of payroll, how to program, like really the nuts and bolts of stuff that you don't learn in college, right? There was no such curriculum for that. So yeah, I was doing payroll. I was doing payroll localization for the US, for the North American market. Very difficult stuff, like understanding all these payroll drivers and rules and taxes and kind of, if you look at it, repetitive, always, I mean, it's always changing, but it's a little bit dry because you're not getting to the end user, because the end user is just some admin, one person out of, I don't know, 1,000, 5,000 people that, hits that payroll execution, and then, things get moved out to whoever the payroll processor is, and, checks get cut back then. And so it was like it was interesting as a problem. It still is. I mean, amazingly, like really payroll is back big time. But for me, it was like, okay, like I got to do something different. So then they were like, okay, there's this cool new project back in Waldorf for employee self-services, ESS. And this is, again, before iPhone, internet was happening. I think Google was entering this. There was the portals. I don't know if you remember the days of portals. So like Hollandcheck was for HR. There was somebody for portals. Like, I forgot who was the Gartner guru for, like, the name would probably come back. Maybe it was him. And we were like literally taking this, big system of ERP with all these transactions. You had like transaction codes to run somebody that needs to onboard into the system, like a new employee, or somebody needs to get promoted. There's like these T codes, transaction code. This is how, I guess, people, or SAP, Oracle back then were operating. They're like, no, we're going to get away from that, and we're going to introduce self-services. The idea is that anybody, managers and employees, can actually have access to the system. I was like, oh my God, finally, like there's some like access to end users more than just some like admin sitting there, IT person, which is exciting, complex stuff. We're kind of democratizing the software, enterprise software stuff. So yeah, that was like the big journey that really helped me understand like the opportunity we have. And then obviously, with mobile, with cloud, all the transformation we've seen, self-services and software and making things more accessible. It's just been amazing. So that's a little bit of my background. I've been also on the technology side. So as part of SAP, I was building the business technology platform. They call it SAP HANA Cloud Platform. So this whole new database and then the whole new platform as a service, which serves their application, their ecosystem. So I've seen both views from a kind of pure technology, middleware integration stuff, but also from a software like HCM, payroll, ERP kind of stuff. So hopefully that helps.
I love that. And Philip, one of the things that we hear about, it seems incessantly lately, and it doesn't really matter about skills, or if we're talking about recognition, or if we're talking about, everything seems to come down to data at the infrastructure platform level. The more users you have, the more applications you have on top of your platform, the more people data you have, the better experiences you can drive. And I think the reason where one of the questions I got asked this week at the conference I was at, I did a couple of media interviews, and one of the questions that was interesting in the way it was phrased, it was, what's the number one trend you think HR will follow this year? And I flipped the question at our client dinner that night. I said, I'm not going to tell you how I answered. You're the HR, the people leaders, the talent leaders, the business leaders.
Right.
What's the number one trend you think your function will follow this year? And nobody at the table said AI.
Wow.
AI is the means to an end. And I think everybody gets that. It's the means to the end, but what's the end? And it was all about continuous improvement of the workforce. It was all about learning agility. It was about skills for what? Recognition for what? What what are we trying to accomplish here? And it was really, really interesting. And you're front and center with this as well in terms of your business and the solutions you're providing. It's the power of gratitude and recognition and employee experience and sentiment data and sure, skills data, but for what end? And I think that's the better question that we're starting to ask.
Very good observation. I mean, I feel like we're in two different worlds sometimes. Like, when I have the vendor perspective and, if you hear about AI, replacing jobs, replacing humans, or somebody saying only augmenting us and improving us, but it's this kind of narrative of how it's going to boost our productivity, how it's going to make us 10x whatever role, right? And then, you go to customers and you talk to them and they're like more looking at these pragmatic stuff. And I think probably it's this that we're kind of overestimating, what's going to happen and underestimating a little bit what happens in 10 years. So, I mean, the trend is there, but I think there's still problems to solve, like payroll, right? I mean, you would think that payroll is such a done topic after like 50 years. That was like the number one application. If you talk to Thomas Otter, he's written like so many articles and books, what have you, on payroll being like this first enterprise application, and it's back, right? So like somehow the business outcome there hasn't been achieved. Why? Like you would think like, what have we not achieved there? But obviously there are some issues still, and customers, need to figure out a better outcome even in payroll. So it's not only in the cool topics of skills and productivity and like the soft stuff, but really even in kind of the more traditional topics.
Philip, I want to just expand on this for a second because I teased something in a post that I wrote last week. Jess, if you look at the clock and like how long we usually do this, I'm asking this question with 17 minutes to go instead of 2 minutes to go.
You usually pull 10 out of the grenade with 2 minutes left. So we're giving more time now for the detonation.
This is the bomb, okay?
Yes. So based on what you just said, and I wrote, like I said, I teased this last week. is the future of HR a function that can do both?
Mm.
Is the future of HR a function, the future of the function, a function that can both do all of the transactional stuff that has to be done, like payroll, which is important. Please, when I say this, I mean no disrespect to anyone doing anything. And also, if I go to your website and I read something like love cannot remain by itself, it has no meaning. Love has to be put into action, and that action is service. That quote from Mother Teresa.
Right.
Can I expect one function that deals with a human to do all of that? Or have we now gotten to the point where AI probably can do most of the transactional, and I free up humans to deal with the more important things that we're talking? Not that payroll's not important, excuse me, the more humane things. I'd love your thoughts, because that's where my head is right now. That's my headspace right now, is that the one function can't do both, because at the end of the day, there's so many fires always in payroll that guess what? I have to get people paid, and I put the other thing on the back burner. And it's an expense function. So what? It's constantly being doing asked to do more with less. And it always is going to keep the lights on instead of figuring out how to make the light brighter.
Yeah, I mean, look, even if the top role that, you know, in HR is responsible, look at the evolution from kind of CHO role, and maybe it's just a title, but like a chief people and culture, like transition from HR to, or HCM, to managing capital, right, to people and culture stuff, right? That shows you already that a lot of them are thinking that way, but the day-to-day is still a lot of transactional stuff that needs to get done. Do agents or AI have the capability to further automate? By all means, but also, I mean, agents and AI can even help on the culture and, you know, the creative stuff. I mean, like I don't know, like if you show me your prompts or I give you my prompts, it's not going to be a lot of transactional stuff. It's actually going to be a lot of creative stuff we're asking. Yeah, like
Agree.
sound, you know, like a sound check for many ideas, like, right? So I like, do I envision a scenario that half of HR we move under finance because it's transactional, right? And then the other half will remain like as the new HR. I don't think so. I think I think still HR will, you know, just, it's so difficult. Like I feel like these categories that we've created purposely or not, they're gonna stick around, like learning and development, and, you know, talent acquisition. Not just change the name. It used to be recruiting, talent acquisition. Now it's talent discovery. It's like every 2 years there's a new name, but it's
So let me play it out one step further, because clearly you guys can tell this is on my mind. Let's take the Moderna study this week,
okay.
which was, hey, a friend of mine, Tracy Franklin, this is going to run both HR and IT. And in her head is work is work. Work has to be done. And
Yeah.
my job is to decide whether a human's going to do the work or a machine's going to do
Yeah.
the work.
Yeah. That's key. I
Where
think.
where we, instead of having human resources and machine resources, I have resources.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's back to the, you know, NVIDIA CEO point that IT will be the next HR. They will be the one hiring the agents. The question is, what will HR do if IT will decide on, you know, who is the workforce, digital and human, right? So, you know, the potential there's probably that HR and IT will become even more important than they've been, and they've increased importance. Again, if you look back, IT departments 20 years ago at companies, like developers, like, are you kidding me? Like, no, like there was no developers, there was no platforms and tools except maintaining that mainframe system, or, you know, maybe a 3-client architecture system, new one that they've signed, right? And that whole IT career track and expansion of roles in HR and IT has increased. So I think there's a big opportunity for HR IT maybe to come together, right? Or definitely grow more and more importance to decide what's that perfect workforce composition. How does the digital workforce and the human workforce make the biggest sense for the company, for the outcomes they want to achieve, right?
And it's really interesting, Philip, because Daryl's on the meetup, and he wrote, you won't recall, which I do recall. But the thing that I think is interesting is we are moving functions under IT. And the thing that, Daryl, when you said that to me, and I think it's really interesting, this discussion, is can these two functions still be called HR and IT? With all of the baggage that each of them have. Like if you ask most people, do you like HR? They're going to say no. If you ask, do you like IT? They're going to say no. But going forward, if we think about this function together, sorry for all the HR and IT people. I didn't mean to offend anyone when I said that, but most people think of HR as the police, quote unquote,
Right.
and IT as the police, quote unquote. So all of that being said, do we just call this group something that's responsible for resources?
Mhm.
Like, and our job is to provide resources to reach given outcome or talent. And is it human talent or machine talent? We don't care. We're going to help the organization figure out what's the right talent
Right.
to work in the best possible way.
I
I
think
did
so.
hear for the first time. So I used to preach about better use of talent in terms of internal mobility, recognizing hidden talent. I used to say it should be a business case you need to prove before opening an external requisition to backfill a position. You should have to prove that you don't have that talent sitting underutilized in your own workforce. I used to say that back in my TA days. Now I'm hearing for the first time, one of our clients told us this week at dinner that now the business case needs to be made. You need to prove that AI can't do that job before a rec is approved, posted for filling internally or externally. And that's the first time I knew that was coming. Now I'm hearing
It's
it
loud.
in
It's
activation.
loud, clear, proud. I mean, and when I say proud, like I was with an organization earlier this week. It was the CHRO, who was actually saying, I'm not approving any more recs until you prove to me that AI can't do it. And she was proud.
Yep.
But is this like we're going this pendulum of like going too extreme, and then eventually we realize that okay, there's
Sure.
some middle zone here.
Yes.
Remember, as an immigrant in the U.S. and then Germany, like the employer has to prove that the local population are not able to handle this job, and that's why you'll get a green card or a passport or what have you, right?
Great example. Great example.
Right? And this was with humans, right? Now we're entering this stage with AI, and I'm like, okay, but like, of course, depending on the president, depending on the policy, you'll have, less immigration or more immigration. But if you look at AI as immigration, I think that's pretty much like how it's going to happen. And it's the other thing. I don't know if you've read the PwC announcement where they announced more layoffs, but the rationale was there's no attrition, meaning for the first time there people are not moving, they're not leaving. They were counting on attrition of X%, whatever it was, right? So suddenly, like their business case is wrong. Like they need to lay off people because people are not leaving, right? So it was interesting.
Can I ask you a question? Oh, sorry.
Well, I'll just plant the seed because I do think that if we continue to look ahead of what's trending now, I think we will have to and should start measuring human impact like we do any other ESG, corporate social responsibility metric, just like we measure energy consumption, impact on the planet, just like we measure anything. I think we're going to have to take into consideration human impact of job loss and AI and automation, like just from an accountability, responsibility, from an awareness standpoint, so that we can catch people as they fall out. I mean, the Darwinism of work is okay. It's okay that jobs evolve. We should be excited and happy about that. But we also have to be aware of who falls out of the system, at what rate, at what disproportionate or unintended impact. so that we can catch them and recycle them back into the system in a way that's good for everybody. That's the next thing I predict. I would love to see it. But anyway, Jason, go.
Love it. Yeah.
No, and then Daryl just wrote something that made me think. I mean, and the way he wrote it made me think it out. Is that most organizations don't have a true enterprise-wide architect. Now, I believe, well, actually, when I read the rest of it, what he's talking about is tools to solve the architectural design. But when I first read it, what made me think was there's no enterprise architect of work, of
Right.
if whether it should be humans or machines. Not just an architect of the machines, an architect of how the machines work together, but an architect in general of saying, guys, the future of how this company works is
Right.
humans doing this, machines doing this. And if you
Yeah.
think about the Moderna study or the Moderna release, I think that's closer to what we're going to need is an enterprise architect of how work gets done. Not whether it's one group doing it with humans and one group doing it with tech, but in general.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I
the-
might be too space agey, you guys, in some of
No,
this
it gets
stuff.
to your point.
So,
I mean, the architect of all the system landscapes that companies have are IT, right? And the architects of, the people and the skills and what we need are HR. So for the very first time now with AI, they're kind of forced to not just, talk to each other and sit down like they've been doing anyhow for any new deployment, because obviously the business need IT and IT needs business. But this time it's different, right? It's like you really got to combine forces and think through it. So I think we will probably see some experiments there of HR IT being this one single organization, architecting the end-to-end view of the machine and the human workforce. Yeah.
Philip, I'd love
yeah.
you to comment if you have a thought or two about another thing that I feel like we're hearing a lot of, and I think it's because it's sort of like the crux of the matter. There's all this transformation underway. There's so much about work and jobs and people changing. We have more people data than we've ever had to sort of retool and redesign things. The part that isn't changing, won't change, and that it really kind of boils down to is managers being able to execute work and work streams, direct people, shift things in the flow of work. Like it really kind of comes down to supporting and enabling managers at the end of the day. Otherwise, all of this is just kind of a divide. I'm hearing that a lot. In fact, it came up in Mercer's latest research, like supporting and enabling managers to operate in real time and tooling and systems. Like where did that fall in this conversation?
So big, I think, and it's a full circle for me, because when I started this innovative project around manager self-services, this was the first time we gave tools to managers to access finance data, people data. And this is 2002-3, right? And it was a big thing. But over the time, none of us as vendors have really designed systems for this role, yet there were so many more and more expectations put on them over the years. Now even more, you see this kind of a flashback to less managerial layers, and this kind of thing that I can have 30 direct reports and I don't need one-on-ones and we don't need managers and everybody needs to be feeling as an owner and accountable, right? But at the end of the day, we're people and we need this. And there's all these surveys that I think even UKG did, and Gallup came out saying like the manager, like all of it, it's due to the managers that all the kind of employee engagement, hitting another low point. There was this other thing that people share more personal stuff, not just work related with their managers, than actually with their partner. It was like, or their psychologist or what have you. Like it's such an important role that organizations have, I think, underserved and and now even more with these examples that they're firing all this middle management or top management that we're seeing. And then the question is what is like, are these agents and AI will be better managers? And, in some cases, probably like would have been a better manager. We know of examples through our careers of bad managers, sure. But in general, I think we still need them. And I think they still need to be much better empowered. They need to be different kind of leaders. They need to have the right capacity and tool, because it's like you don't go on a training 3 months and all this stuff and now you're a first-time manager, like you forget about this stuff. You become an employee because that's like great, it sticks around for 3 months and then you go back to your expertise, what you were great as an employee. So it's like a constant reminder, constant enablement. I think that's what AI can do, like can really constantly enable us to serve this role better, and not just be this expert, like we're great product expert or great talent acquisition because all the stuff that I've done, right? You have this kind of set of skills, but really help us fill the gaps of other things that we don't have, maybe as natural as a talent or because of our past history. So super exciting topic. We're working on something, and that's, you asked about one of the big things that happened this week. For me, AI is all about this magic moment. Like you see something, you're like, this is cool. Like I really see the potential. So our team came back this week. We're working on this manager agents. They're like, let's look at this first version 0. whatever 9 before we release it. And I loved it. I thought I was like, wow, like look at how things have evolved, that we have this capacity now to manage in the future also employees. Now the question in the future, will we have more agents as employees, or the agents will be the managers? We don't know. I don't think we figured it out, but I just really feel like we need this social relationship of somebody leading us as humans as well. And I don't know, I feel a little bit strange that it would be an agent or non-human to be trusted to. So I don't know, maybe I'm a little bit too old school. Maybe the young generation will feel much more comfortable with AI agents leading them, but I feel like there's still so much potential for us as human in that role to be better served.
No, I completely agree. And I think we're all learning together. Like we're all building this together. So I don't think there's old school and new school. I think there's kind of now school. And we're just trying to figure out exactly what it is. So I think that's gonna be that's why it's exciting to watch.
Maybe I'll close on one of my favorite stories that Trevor Noah told this week. Was actually around his rocky landing as he was trying to come in, and he talked about the pilot as a leader. And he said a good leader isn't 100% sure in any situation. A good leader is communicative. And they're using all of the tools they have. They're constantly talking and using tools and resources and using air traffic control, Jason, which you didn't have. And they're managing the situation as best they can with all of the information, data, tools, resources they have in the moment, and they're communicating constantly. I thought that was so relevant for the transformation people are feeling, which is constant. It feels like an onslaught, actually. But I think that's a really good tip for all of us navigating disruptive times. Yes, it's all a team building exercise. I love that, Ellie. Philip, thanks for coming on the show. We've known each other now for a few years, and we finally had you on. Big fan
Hey,
of
Jess, really quickly before Philip leaves, I want to tee up next week. Okay. Not that I know who our host is, but I want to talk about something next week. Because someone just put a link in the chat that made me think about it. This whole Klarna, what is happening with AI and what's not happening with AI? Is it replacing people? Is it not? Or IBM saying they're laying off 300 HR people. Is it happening or it's not? I want to talk next week about how we can't all react to whatever the media says immediately. And it was so fascinating to me. Even the Moderna story this week. All of this is nuanced, you guys, and it's all really important that you put it into context for your organization, what fits for you, where your mindset is of your leadership and things like this. Media is out to grab headlines.
Sure.
Okay, the Klarna story has gone back. So if you don't know the Klarna story, just Google Klarna, for goodness sakes. It's gone back and forth 4 times in 48 hours as to whether AI has really helped them or not. It's the stupidest argument in the world. AI is going to help a company. Let's not argue about that. Right. Let's think about how do we do it responsibly and towards the outcomes that we're trying to achieve. That's what I want to talk about next week, Jess.
I love that.
Great stuff. Great
Philip,
community.
thank you for being here.
Thank you for being here as well.
Have a
Say hi
great
to
weekend.
Levi for
Happy
us.
events.
Where's the little one? I wanted to see the little one.
There you go.
Oh,
Hey, look at that.
done.
What's his name?
Sandro.
Sandro, can you hear us? Can you hear us?
Yeah, yeah, he can hear you.
Sandro.
But he's,
Hello, Sandro.
He's I think he's on purpose selecting to ignore you.
Sandro, ask your dad for a treat. You were awesome.
Yes.
For sure.
Thanks. Have a good
Have an
evening,
amazing
Philippe.
weekend,
Have a good
everybody.
weekend,
Oh,
everyone.
bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.